The question that we all have is, how are we changing cognitively and affectively with digital technologies? The reality is the brain reflects the medium. So print medium encourages longer processes, more sophisticated processes, and we know those include critical analysis, background knowledge, and empathy. Digital technologies are wonderful for absorbing all kinds of information, but they do not give the same amount of time. The brain does not allocate the same amount of time to these deep reading processes like critical analysis and empathy. This leads us to be more vulnerable, more susceptible to those kinds of information that just confirm what we thought before. So digital technology has wonderful advantages, but it is a threat to the use of the most sophisticated cognitive processes that help us discern the truth from our information and consolidate it into knowledge. One of the hardest questions, especially during COVID, is what will happen to our children who are overexposed to digital technologies from birth on. The reality is that it is the attention that is changing. With digital technologies, the distraction that we learn how to deal with, they are completely vulnerable towards. So the quality of attention is one that's scattered. It's not learning to focus. It becomes easily bored. One of the first things you realize when you have a child who goes off their iPad is, I'm bored. The reason is because they are being overstimulated. At the same time, they are being passive. We have brain research that shows that children who are being read to versus watching the same story on an iPad are utilizing less of their language regions. So there is all kinds of data that shows us that it is much better for our children to have less or less technology in those early years. We're suggesting a biliterate brain in which we learn how to read and we're exposed to print those first 5-10 years while we're simultaneously learning to be engaged in programming and coding in our digital technologies. So it's not either or, but it's careful, it's developmental, and it's making sure the attention of our children learns to be focused and learns ultimately these, if you will, these more sophisticated cognitive processes. There is no question that COVID has forced us to use much more educational technologies than ever before. Before COVID, many people thought of it as the answer. After COVID or during COVID, we realized the importance of a relationship in a teacher and that the personal relationship is playing so much more of a role than any of us thought. Now, digital technologies are wonderful and useful for engaging, for practice. They do not replace the beauty of relationship in teachers. They do not replace the book. Paper text gives a chance for a sensorial relationship, gives a chance for the child when they read something to go back and to monitor, to check themselves. So comprehension itself is changing when we use too much digital technology. We should never, ever give up the book or print, especially in those first years, the first 10 years. Either, if I had 3 things to tell every parent, it's read, talk, and sing to your children with books, especially in the first 5 years. But don't stop there. Continue till 10.